Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. The best show ever here on 97.5 The Fanatic, NBC Sports Philadelphia. It was crazy weather outside, but it might be crazy in the sports world as well. 610-632-0975 is the number to participate. And let's get right to the word of the day. The word of the day today is prophecy. Because I'm a sportsman from way back, as everyone already knows, and I work with a bunch of sportsmen also on the program. And I had this prophecy that this week is going to be one of the most important sports weeks in these franchises' history this week. And it already started after I got the prophecy with Kevin Hayes being traded for a 6th-round pick to St. Louis at a salary dump. And the draft tomorrow, the Flyers, this week is one of the most important weeks in the last 50 years of the franchise. This is the most important week for the Flyers since Eric Lindros. That's how important this week is, and it's already off to me, in my opinion, a good start. What about what you got from Kevin? First of all, they weren't from a position of strength, if I may say. Everyone in the world knew they wanted to trade him because there's been a million leaks, and we'll get to all that going on with the Flyers. So that's step one. You're trying to trade a guy that everyone in the world knows you want to trade. Number two, he's way overpaid. And number three, you didn't want to take back any money. You can get more for Kevin Hayes if you're willing to take back a contract. What you did instead was you keep 50% of his money, which is basically a contract. And that's what you did. It was actually a good trade. Now let's see what else they do. James Harden's going to opt out this week. That's going to be super important. This is going to be a very important week. Phillies Cubs, we'll see what goes down with that. This is going to be a big week. I'm telling you, the prophecy says, and it's been written. It's not me. I just read the prophecy. It's been read that this is going to be a very important week for our Philly sports teams.
I like what Danny Briere did today. I think it's a very strong move, and I get that it's not the most appealing thing in the world, but what you had to do was clean up Chuck Fletcher's garbage. He left this place a mess. It is an embarrassment how the franchise is right now. So you need to start stripping this thing clean, and it's not going to be beautiful. There's going to be times where you go, really? That's it? That's all you get in return? But this isn't all that's happening. What we really need to do is let this play out more. There was a lot of buzz circulating the sports world that maybe Sanheim was included and there were other pieces, which makes this feel less than what it is. Wait until Sanheim does get traded, because he will be moved either today or tomorrow, and then you look at the entire package of Danny Briere, 5, 6, 7 moves of stripping this thing instead of one individually. Kevin Hayes, his time ran out here, unfortunately. We thought at the time of the signing it would help push this thing forward, but it didn't click with John Tortorella. They moved him from center to wing. There was a lot of internal frustration. But if you look at what they're trying to do, they're removing Ivan Provorov, who did have some situations play out in the room. Moving on from Kevin Hayes, who wasn't the cleanest with relationships with the head coach. Tony D's going to go back to Carolina in about a week or so. They have an agenda. They have a plan, and I'm behind it. I support it. I like it, and there should be no reason to be as frustrated as I see social media with the return for Hazy.
I like it. You have to start somewhere. I think a lot of people don't understand this. Sometimes it doesn't matter what you get back in return. And I think in this situation with the Kevin Hayes, okay, you got rid of half a contract. That's money that you have now, at least off of your books. Isn't that what this is all about? Getting back to zero and then working your way back up as high as you could possibly go. So I don't have any issues with what they're doing right now. The Provorov thing, I don't care. D'Angelo, that's going to be the same type thing. Maybe you get a little bit more than what you got for Hayes, but still, it's still a salary drop. These guys are not trying to make the world out of nothing right now. I think what they're trying to do is break everything down to the simplest form that they could get it to, and then build it up their own way. That is what this is all about. And I think people out there saying, well, they only got this. Who cares? I mean, in all reality, who cares what you got back in a situation for Kevin Hayes right now? I understand a lot of people like them. That's fair. But in this area and what's going on right now, it's clearing books that the Flyers are trying to do, and then they'll start with the draft and move on from there. I like what they're doing right now. I don't have a problem with it. If certain guys didn't get along with Tortorella, they're all going to be gone then. That's the way I look at this whole picture.
Yeah, well, see, all right. I feel like this program, unlike some other ones, have been very friendly and welcoming to all the Flyers faithful. We're going to have, and I'm going to need Jen Scordo's help because I'm not good with feelings. Every single fan that's complaining about the return are complaining about the return for one of two reasons. Either one, they don't want to accept the rebuild, and they want to get a good player in return or a first-round pick in return because they don't recognize where the Flyers really are. And I'm here to help any Flyers fan that has a look. At this point, if you think that, you're delusional. But there are delusional fans out there who believe that they're one or two moves away and some health to being right back in the mix. So while the majority of fans recognize the direction they need to go, that's not all the fans. And everyone that's complaining about the haul is going, well, hold on. If you just get rid of Hayes and bring back a young guy, they'll mess around and make the playoffs next year. When they make the playoffs, you never know what can happen. That's still out there. And
that's adorable.
That's funny, huh?
That's out there. And then the other part that's still out there is, okay, I really like what Danny Briere has done so far. I really like what Keith Jones has done so far. I don't like hearing so much about it because the way they've set up their situation, when you hear about, as you talked about, Hunter, when a fan hears this is going to happen. So it'd be like this. Your parents decide they're going to take you to Disney World. Oh, my goodness, you're so excited. Then you find out that you are going to Florida, but you're only going to the beach to visit grandma. That's awesome. But you had Disney World in your mind.
Yep.
So now grandma's house at the beach in St. Petersburg isn't good because you thought you were getting Disney World. The Flyers have let this young group, this inexperienced group, so many things leak. There are fans out there that are expecting Disney World, and when they get anything other than Disney World, then it's, quote, horrendous, as somebody on hold is going to say, and we'll talk to them later on. And I think the Flyers themselves need to tighten that room up so that St. Petersburg to see your grandparents doesn't end up looking horrendous because it's not Disney.
Right, they do. And this is all part of the job. And Danny Briere is very new at this. Now, there's some savviness that I really do love. And I've seen it in the first trade so far made by the Flyers. He is creative, and he's willing to go out there and add a third team and take on money and try and find ways, which is awesome. I do think that there's some things leaking here that need to be cleaned up. And Keith Jones mentioned some things weren't true that were being reported. They were trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. They know exactly what happened. But it's all a learning experience. We do have to acknowledge that there's going to be good things and bad things that happen when you're dealing with a lot of inexperience. Now, I got to ask you if I'm crazy or not, because Elliot Friedman was reporting, and this could be me being nuts, I will admit. He's reporting that, okay, so Torrey Krug for the St. Louis Blues had a no-trade clause.
And he's the reason why more stuff this weekend, yesterday would have been all Flyers if not for what you're about to do.
Correct. So he decided to not waive his no-trade clause, which, fine. I wouldn't want to be a 30-plus-year-old defenseman trying to be a good guy in the room for the rest of my career.
No.
I want to win a damn Stanley Cup. So apparently, John LeClair, who's a new hire, was going to call him and try and convince him to waive that no-trade clause. That's what the inexperienced John LeClair's job was supposed to be. Well, he failed because Torrey Krug said today to St. Louis, it ain't happening.
Right.
What the hell is John LeClair here for?
Well,
he had the same agent as Krug did. That's the connection.
Yeah. What's his? If he can't get this one done, what the hell is John LeClair here for?
Hold on.
I told you, maybe I'm nuts.
See, this is why we go to Jen.
Oh, the feelings.
I don't have a choice, Jen. It's not that you can only do feelings.
Right.
It's that you're the only one here
that can do feelings. I gotcha.
So you have Flyers fans who hear over the weekend, oh, my goodness, 2019 blockbuster, everybody must go. Like, this is what you're hearing over the weekend. And then instead, the first move you actually get after that is 6th-round pick for Kevin Hayes.
Yeah.
And now they go, ooh, how do we, because we're a welcoming group. We're 5 for 5 for real. We don't just say it. We really love all the teams.
Yes.
How do we convey to the fans that we understand their frustration, but perhaps it's a little bit misguided. And at the same time, the Flyers are making some mistakes in their execution by getting the fans' hopes up too high, too quickly.
Yeah. We might have to have a therapy Tuesday with some of these Flyers fans to just have a little patience, maybe a little meditation, a little free flow of the brain, of the mind to say, okay, just settle down, slow down. It's a good start. It's the tip of the iceberg. There is more to come. That ice is going to start rolling down the hill, and there's a lot more to come. This is just the beginning, and it's okay. Just step back, take a deep breath.
See, you just
we'll get there.
You hear what Jay just said? Yeah, there it is. You heard what Jay just said.
Hunter can't
That's
do it.
nothing for you, Hunter. That sounded great to me.
I don't know.
Somebody had to clean up Chuck Fletcher's mess. That's what's happening right now. There's a big garbage dumpster left in the Wells Fargo Center, and they're cleaning it out.
He didn't have any black garbage
See,
bags.
there you go.
So over the weekend, he was trying to take it out with the kitchen bag, and the kitchen bag ripped.
So now it's on the ground again.
Right, it's on the ground. So he's got to just go get the other trash bags.
They need
to
a
get
dump
the
truck.
stuff. That's all, yeah.
Here's my final question of our opening segment. These Flyers fans that are disappointed with the 6th-round return.
Yeah, we're going to talk to him today.
Didn't they hate Kevin Hayes?
Yes, they did.
Didn't they say he stinks, he's overrated, his contract is too much? Well, then what the hell did you think you were going to get in return?
You're trying to be logical over there. Come on.
What do you mean? Most pundits, I have people already telling me, most pundits are going to give this thing an F-.
Wait until Sanheim goes.
I think they actually get – for some reason, the league values Sanheim way more than I thought they would, and guess what? I'm here for it. Danny could probably get something for Sanheim. For Hazy, no shot, and it is what it is. That's the market.
That's the market, and when you've been trying to trade a guy for 2 years, you don't have a lot of value, a guy who makes way too much money, who your coach doesn't like, that you've been actively trying to trade for 2 years, sometimes you get – what you get. And now let's start our Twitter poll with Jen Scordo.
Did the Flyers get enough for Kevin Hayes? You can answer yes or no. Very short and sweet and to the point. Right now, early votes have no at 65%.
Of course.
See,
watch it get to 80 by the end of the show.
This is what I mean. All right, fine. What did you think? Like, what did you envision that they were going to get? Like, I need to work off of something. Now, some people, you ate too much of his salary. What? They knew, first of all, he had one of his better years, and he had, 54 points last year?
Yes, he had one of his great seasons.
Not 100 points. Like, and he makes no sense on this team with this coach. He may make a lot of sense somewhere else, but he doesn't make sense here. And do you think that every other team in hockey doesn't know that? Like, I think sometimes some fans, I'm not talking about the majority, I want to make this clear. I think some fans think that because they treat the Flyers like a private club, that others do, and they're not paying attention to the tea leaves. They know the Flyers, when it deals with certain guys, are desperate. Sanheim, not so much. You could happily keep Sanheim and keep moving on with your life. But with certain players, you're kind of desperate to move them. That destroys your trade value.
He's not going to be here. When the team gets good, he's not going to be here. So why bother? So why bother?
And that cap, this is the weird thing I have to say about that money. Do you think that's the difference between making the playoffs or not?
No.
They're getting ready to sign a big player?
No.
They're not going to sign any big players. I just find
it seems to me they're trying to save money just in general for a year or two.
I think it's
for
deeper
whatever
than that.
You think so?
Think about the 3 guys that are going to get moved first.
The ones that didn't buy in.
Ivan Provorov.
Didn't buy in.
Kevin Hayes.
Didn't buy in.
Tony D.
Did not buy in.
He's going to get moved in about a couple of days. If you're unaware that when
Sanheim bought in, that was a different story.
I don't think they like the contract for Sanheim for what he provides as a player. Yeah. I think he's a good dude.
Yeah,
I think he works
did
hard.
Buy it. Yeah, he did buy it.
It's just not working out here. But Tony D, Kevin Hayes, and Ivan Provorov are possibly going to be 3 of the first 4 moves. I think it's deeper than that when they look at the room.
Yeah, it's about this is the kind of culture we want to have. And a lot of players, none of them played well. Obviously, the team wasn't good.
Right.
But when you go beyond that, it's about which guys were pulling the rope in the same direction and which guys weren't.
Yep.
And those guys weren't, to the point where, let's not forget, Tony D wasn't playing late in the season.
He's getting benched.
Healthy scratch.
Well, he's getting benched.
Not even dressed, though.
I mean, he's healthy scratch because the word is he was on his best behavior for a while, and eventually he was what he was.
Yeah,
he is who he is.
There's certain pieces where you just don't want to deal with. I don't have a problem with what they're doing whatsoever. I look at Kevin Hayes. I think he's a great piece to have if you have a veteran-laden team.
Yes. If he's playing on your third line at this point, you have a good team. If you have 6 guys, 8 guys, whatever is ahead of him, look how good you are. With the Flyers, he had like first-line talent with with fourth line buy-in, and then like he was like you should be the leader of this team, but you don't really want to lead this group because you don't like the coach. And obviously, if you're leading, it goes from the coach to the leader, and then the leader goes to the players with the message. Well, they couldn't get on the same page, so he couldn't lead because on any other world, he's the captain last year.
Probably.
They have a C, and it's this veteran dude who's been around, who's been through some things in real life, and should be able to lead a bunch of guys. And none of that happened.
No, they wouldn't even trust him to play in the defensive zone, where they removed him from playing center and said, we're going to take responsibilities away from your game because we don't think you're where you're supposed to be. Here's wing. I mean, you slap guys over at wing because they're a mess and they're not even where they should be positionally sound in the D zone. And that's what Torts said to him early on and let him know. I mean, that was the statement made.
And the D'Angelo thing's going to get done when the timing's right.
So they're not allowed to. Yeah, they're not allowed until 1 year after because he's going back to
which
the
I think
team.
is next week.
Yeah.
So
he's out of here.
He'll be gone.
pretty soon. Pretty soon.
Won't see him no more.
Has any homecoming, like literal homecoming, end up coming unglued that much? Like where a guy from here comes here, his dad's in the newspaper, Inquirer's doing glowing pieces talking about his childhood and skip past, by the way, in that story, there was not a single mention of any of the controversy. They just skipped past that. And by the end of that season, he's not dressed. And then by July, he's out of here.
I can't think of one. And I thought that he would be able to provide help on the power play. You want me to look up those power play numbers?
No.
You don't have
No, you can look up the penalty kill numbers.
Well, yeah, they scored some shorties. That team did. It's about all they did. It's Scott Lawton.
Now we're going to go to the phones, and let's see how the people feel. And also, we got the James Harden stuff going on, Phillies Cubs coming up.
I got one more remark before we go to the phones.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's not act like this was Danny Briere's first thought with Kevin Hayes. There were other things that fell. Joe Hansen ended up getting traded, and then Torrey Krug wouldn't move the no-trade clause. He had other things in the works, and then because they weren't able to go through, this was really his third option on the Kevin Hayes deal. This wasn't him going, all right, watch this. I'm about to do something perfect, and this was his first thought and his first idea. Unfortunately, there were other things that fell in the market prior, and this is what you were left with when Chuck Fletcher put this contract together and you were trying to move it. So it wasn't his first plan. He had two previous plans that fell through out of your control, and then you deal with this.
But this is another way where those guys got to tighten up their room.
Agreed.
We shouldn't hear about those things that fell through.
Agreed.
We're hearing about too many things, so then when this happens, they're upset again with the whole Disney World thing. Getting rid of them is good. But Michael in Old City doesn't think so. You're on 97.5 The Fanatic. Why is this a bad trade, Michael?
Because, let's look at this logically. This is two parts to this trade. The first part, Kevin Hayes, as a player, you have to say, we can all agree, at the minimum, he's a 50 to 60-point player who on St. Louis is going to be, at best, their second-line center, at worst, their third-line center. And you can't tell me that a 50 to 60-point center who has size and ability to score who's only getting $3.6 million contract signed for 3 years with cost certainty isn't worth more than a sixth-round pick on its own.
What are you talking about? Whoa. How old is he?
30.
Who cares?
Well, you can't say who cares. Are you going to get that? Are you going to get that production all the years of his contract? And if he has all of that ability, why hasn't he helped the Flyers win?
I'm not projecting his ability past what he's already done in his career.
Right. You just said he's so good with those numbers and stuff, right? Why haven't those numbers? Why have those numbers that you cited, why have they not translated to W's?
Because hockey is a team sport. You don't have just one guy who changes everything. But when you've got a team like St. Louis who's desperate to get a center to fill their void in the middle, you don't turn around and give them a 50 to 60-point center for $3.6 million who's only 30.
Well, so you'd rather have him. So you're saying you'd rather have him for $7.2 million.
No, absolutely. Would never keep Kevin Hayes on this team.
Okay, well, guess what, Michael? No one else was calling. So if this was the only thing possible, then what do you do if you're Danny Briere? You don't want to bring him back.
No. Guys, I'm telling you that what I'm saying is that for $3.6 million for 3 years.
But he's not 3.6 here. He's 7.2 here.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is
Our
that
salary cap- who
what
cares
would you
about our
rather
salary
do,
cap?
Michael?
They
Have
want to
him-
save money.
Okay, then
Would you
I'll
rather
tell you
have
what I'd
him for
rather do.
7.2 million, or would you rather have them have him at 3.6?
Okay. First off, the second, I will answer that question. But my other point is $3.6 million of cap relief giving to the St. Louis Blues for 3 years, that alone is worth more than a sixth
So
round
what
pick.
would have made you
That's
happy? A
my
fifth
point.
rounder?
No.
What were
I
you
would
gonna
say
get?
minimum. Okay, Brody, you're literally telling me that
Yeah,
you
go
think
ahead.
a sixth round pick
Uh-huh.
is good enough for this player. For the cap relief alone.
I think Danny Bree. Look, I think it's a very low market, but I think the market is what the market is. I don't think that there were other things they could have done. I think they tried, and you saw that they tried. I agree that on paper it is lower than I probably would have assumed with the cap relief, but I don't think that they had phenomenal offers and elected to go down this road. I think the market dictated this, and they tried everything in their power to do better, and this was their best option on the table. And if that's the case, what do you do?
This is my point.
And how do we
I
know that
agree with what
last
you're
year,
saying.
by the way, wasn't a complete fluke? Because
He's
looking
more of
at
a
his
30
point,
to 40 point
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. You said
Guys,
50 to
you
60.
don't get-
He's only had 50 to 60 once in his whole career. Thanks for the call, Michael. We appreciate it. I'm just making it clear. So when you talk about the money, he's had 54 points once.
Well, my question is,
It is
if-
whole-
This was about the money.
I'm
though.
saying
this
he's
was
had-
about relief.
Looking at it, he had 45, 36, 49, 44, 42, 13, 41, 31, 31, 54. Those were his points. In his, he's had one
30 to 40 points.
He was saying 50 to 60 point guy. That's only happened one time in his entire career.
he's never had 60.
Never had 60
He's
points.
never had 60.
And also looking at it here, I guess if you combine what he did in the Rangers and Winnipeg, he got to 50 one other time. And he's been a minus he was a minus in Winnipeg, and he was a minus every year with the Flyers, even when the Flyers were half decent. I'm just trying, I think he was overvaluing him a little bit as a player, is all I'm saying.
I think that's fair to say.
I think he's overvaluing him a little bit. And he's 31, which means they'll be getting him on his 32, 3, and 4. I don't know if he's going to duplicate what he just did. And he also has had some injury issues in the past as well.
If no
I'm
other
just trying
team
to
is
put it all into the argument. That's
yeah,
all.
that's fair. And if no other team is interested, then you can't get that 6 to a 5 or that 6 to a 4 and play a leverage game with another team.
There was none.
Right. Johansson ended up getting moved. That was it. And because that fell, now you're in a totally different spot. Look, I do agree that a 6th-round pick in the money seems small. It does seem small. But that's what the market was. So it's either you do nothing and you sit here with Kevin Hayes, which does nothing
At
for you.
7.2.
That would be
you
dumb.
don't have him for
Right.
3.6.
Right.
You
But that's-
have him for 7.2.
See, that to me seems to be the whole point,
the
is
money.
that you're getting rid of $3.6 million that you don't have to pay. And I think they have a reality that they don't think they're going to be very good this upcoming year.
And the thing is, you get rid of 3.6 this year, it means very little. Maybe even the next year, getting rid of 3.6 doesn't matter as much. That following year, it does.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's when you got to start, because this year is going to be bad on purpose.
One way or the other, you're still saving $3.6 million.
And sooner or later, you're going to use that cap number. You're going to use that cap money during the life of this contract. I'm not saying during the life of those 3 years, they're going to use that $3.6 million that they saved.
The third year.
And I don't know what kind of production he's going to have at 34 years of age based on some of the injuries that he has had.
Let's also see what the Blues do this year. You're acting like you throw Kevin Hayes on the second line in St. Louis, and then they're just going to go win a Stanley Cup. Get the hell out of here. Come on, man.
He's not an answer to a Stanley Cup. I know that.
Man, Hunter's fired up. It feels
It's like
good.
Connor McDavid.
Just won MVP again. Third one.
It's going to be a
26 years old. He has 3 MVPs.
interesting couple of days here.
Back to the phones. Amadeo, South Philly, talking about the Hayes trade. You're on 97.5 Fanatic. Hello, Amadeo.
Hey, guys. I think Flyers fans are blowing a gasket. Don't you think that?
Well, some are, yes, indeed.
You just got to look at the trade at face value. I think that's what people just don't understand. Hayes had zero value in the league, and the Ryan Johansson deal also screwed it over as well, what tiny value he even had.
Yep.
The Predators had to retain 50% as well, and they got a worse player for it. So 6th-round pick at the end of the day, it's what you're going to get. It is what it is. You have to look at the bigger picture of this entire thing. Sanheim is eventually going to get moved. You're going to see what revolves around that. Maybe Lawton, maybe Konechny gets dealt. This is a whole entire process. People get it stuck in their mind that they heard Torrey Krug in a first-round pick, and that's all they hear. That's all they think.
And real fast, Amadeo, you'll get your full time, and that's the Flyers' fault. Too many leaks out of that building. They got to seal that thing up, get a little flex seal, and spray it around the whole facility because it's a little too many leaks. If they don't hear about the first rounder, it doesn't hit people the same way. Go ahead, Amadeo.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that, and that comes with more experience. So I think that over time that gets patched. So if you're looking at tomorrow's draft, it's going to be a big day. I feel like people need to look at the bigger picture, look at the more trades that are going to happen, and look forward to tomorrow's draft because you have a possibility of getting a really franchise-changing talent tomorrow.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah, this is what I'm hearing. All right. I'm hearing that Danny Briere is trying to move up in the draft from 7 to go get Michkov, the Russian prospect who everybody's excited
He's going to have to get up to at least 5, though, isn't he?
Possibly. But there's a report out literally minutes ago that says Montreal is looking to trade that 5th pick.
And they currently, now this is just one
Is that going
mock
to cost
draft.
you Carter Hart?
No. That's a whole separate thing. And he's not even going to be traded until the allegations with the team that he was on is all finished through the legal process.
And that might take a while.
Maybe.
That could, you never know with those particular situations. Thanks for the call, Amadeo. We appreciate it. Now, looking at this particular mock draft.
And that's Kevin Weeks, right?
Yeah, Kevin Weeks, who I think is pretty dialed in right now in the Flyers' particular situation. They have Meeks. He has them going 4th, so Montreal would not be enough. This is where I'm just saying they have Kobe Barlow, the left winger, out of the OHL going 5th, and then the Flyers taking a defenseman 7th overall.
I don't want a defenseman.
They also had the 22nd overall pick, and let me tell you, the Flyers' history, it is an extremely important pick. And I before the show, Hunter, I'm just saying, Hunter, you kind of dismissed it.
I'm so dialed in on 7 that the 15th Swedish prospect might have slipped my mind a little bit.
First of all, he's from Chechnya, okay? Edouard Saleh.
Oh, come on.
See, because that's why they call me Pucks. and then, you know, all right, let me give some notable players that the Flyers have taken 22nd overall. See, this is why they call me Pucks. Let me put the notes down. I don't need the notes.
This is true, though. This did happen.
How about Simone Gagne, 22nd overall? How about Claude Giroux, 22nd overall? So don't tell me 22nd overall is not important in Flyers history.
What else was there? Justin Williams was down
Justin Williams was like 28th.
Richards.
Richards. The 20s have been actually very, very kind to the Flyers over the years in the 20s when they draft there.
I should have dug deeper into my my prospect pool.
You know, I like to do the Pucks thing. But some Flyers fans not happy with what they're doing, and I think it's partially the Flyers' own fault. Too many leaks.
So there are some people in the city that's blaming John Tortorella for ruining the value of Kevin Hayes.
No.
I don't see it like that.
That's what we do now?
Kevin Hayes was problematic, and the way he handled everything with I'm saying with this team.
So Doc Rivers ruined Ben Simmons. That's what we're saying.
There you go.
That's what happened. So Doc Rivers being too mean is why Ben Simmons failed. It was because the coach. Now, that's what we're doing.
Wouldn't want the coach to upset a player now, would we, anymore?
Well, we kept
Cut
it 100.
the crap. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this. You know what? Coaches are there to straighten people out. If guys aren't buying into the system, then you dismiss them. Seriously, if Tortorella could just let people go, he probably would. I mean, there are contracts. Yes, these players have contracts. If they're not going by the rules of the team, get rid of them. I don't care if it costs you money to get rid of them, which it did in Kevin Hayes' case. You get rid of them. This team is rebuilding. These players are useless to them at any given time right now. The next 3 years are going to be rough. I think everybody thinks that because Danny's in there and Jonesy's in there that things are going to change on a dime. Yeah, they do change, but it takes time to rebuild everything, which they didn't even get to yet. Unreal.
I'm with you, man. And I'm looking at the player, too. When Tyrese Maxey went to the bench and he was crying and pouting and all mad because Doc Rivers said, you're going to play a different role, I was mad at Maxey. Like, come on, dude. Get your head out of your ass and play the role that you're supposed to play right now. But it's just a different world, and these players, I guess, react a different way. And I'm looking at Kevin Hayes saying you responded to John Tortorella in a poor way. Owen Tippett didn't. Joel Farabee didn't. I mean, guys had their ups and downs, but some responded. responded. Travis Konechny scored 30 goals this year. You don't think that he was getting like attacked by John Tortorella in a respectful coach way? Of course he did, but he found a way to score 30 goals from there. So it's about how the player responds. Don't be mad at Torts for trying to dictate the way he dictates as a coach. Get mad at the guy for responding poorly.
And the coach is the boss, so you do it. Like the coach tells me to do stuff here all the time.
And you do it.
I do it.
You might not be happy about it, but you still do it.
Still do it.
And the other thing is, I know a lot of people say, well, Kevin Hayes been through a lot. That's not what they look at this point. I know he's been through a lot, but when they look at it in a trade situation, they're looking at a number. They're not looking at the player. They're not looking at the person. What they're trying to do is better their team in the long run. That is the bottom line. Whether it saves you $3.6 million or not, that's what they're trying to do right now to make themselves better in the long run.
I think you're 100% right, and I'm shocked that there's that many people upset about it, but we're going to talk to
It was the bunting that threw me off.
Well, I could understand that.
I think that threw everybody off.
Bob in Westchester, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic. What's up, Bob?
What's happening, guys? Good afternoon to all of you.
Good
Great
afternoon,
to talk
sir.
to some Flyers hockey.
That's why we're 5 for 5 around here.
Yep, big week, Bob.
We talked more Flyers hockey in June than we did during the season.
Yeah, you're right.
It's such a painful laugh.
It's just the moment
But-
they're good, we'll start talking about them again during the season. It's going to be a little while, though.
No doubt. But you talk about buying in. I mean, guys, the two guys they got rid of, Provorov and Hazy, they had an A on their shoulder 2 years ago, didn't they?
That's a good point.
It's a good point.
And,
You're absolutely right.
and you know who's coming next year. It's Tony D back to Carolina.
Yep.
Well, there you go. I mean, talk about not buying in. I mean, if you rip an A off of somebody's shoulder, that says a lot, you know?
Yep, and it just says something that how many of these young defensemen end up emerging as you know as leaders of the team, leaders of the power play, so they lead. And Provorov went the other way.
He was complaining about power play
They'll
time.
say he went the other way. He did not. He never got after the bubble. He didn't get any better after that moment, and that's now 3 years ago.
Well, look what Hazy did in the second half of the year. He was an all-star at the beginning of the year. I mean, there's two teams have to tangle to make a trade. You know
That's
what I mean?
why.
Got to be two fitters for the trade.
Good point, Bob. Thanks for the call. And that's why I'll never forgive Claude, because he didn't allow for a bidding war to happen between Florida and Colorado.
You
And
lucked
his
out.
last
Former
words there-
22nd overall pick like the Flyers have this year, Claude Giroux.
his last words are perfect in every sport. There's got to be two.